Good morning. It is currently 6:08 a.m. on July 1st, 2015. I'm Christiana Ellis, and this is 5 more minutes. I'm still sick. That sucks. It is progressing in terms of whatever it is that it's doing. My voice is improved, obviously. Still kind of rough, but I'm just still feeling very congested and just generally not feeling great. I think completely out of context on a normal day feeling this bad, I would probably call in sick. But given that I already missed Friday and Monday from my trip, and that this coming Friday I would be off for a holiday, it's already a short week. And there is stuff to do at work, so just gonna have to suck it up, I think, and go anyway. I was actually debating whether or not to go to my improv class yesterday. Um, I decided to go ahead and go just on the basis of, well, if I don't, I'll have to make it up, which I guess wouldn't have been a disaster or anything. But I was feeling mostly okay, so I went. And even still, there are some times when you have like a decision like that, and then when you make it, you kind of go, oh, yeah, that was the right decision. Right now, I'm kind of still like, well, I don't know. Was it? I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I guess I had the class, but I wonder if staying in and going to bed early might have been better for me in terms of my illness. Uh, what was I talking about? Yesterday, the newest episode of Podcastle came out. It's a podcast with fantasy short stories, and I was the narrator for the latest episode entitled Congratulations on Your Apotheosis. It's a really fun story, and I urge you all to check it out. I'll put it in my own feed at christianaellis.com, of course, but it's also over at podcastle.org. This story had some stuff in it that I felt like I needed to stretch out of my comfort zone a little bit, not in terms of content, but in terms of presentation. But I hope that you like the result. And it's a fun story, like I said, so I hope you enjoy that. Oh man, still 2 minutes to go. What else? So, I watched the first 2 episodes of the BBC show called Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrel. It's based on a book that I certainly remember hearing a lot about back when it came out, but I never did actually pick it up and read it. I'm enjoying the BBC series pretty well so far, although it does very much feel like it's condensed from a much more complex book. And that's a very challenging thing to do. I think that's one of the things that the Game of Thrones show actually deserves a lot of credit for, is taking very complex books and simplifying them pretty darn well so that you could watch the show and not even realize how much you're missing, how much is being left out. In this, I can't help but feel like it's not like I'm confused exactly, but there's just a lot of things that are happening that happen quickly and without a lot of to do about them. And so I just get the feeling that, what they're doing is they're taking the actual plot points but leaving out the ramp up and down bits. But on the whole, I still think it's really pretty interesting. The basic idea is we're in like Victorian London, and you got a bunch of magicians who are basically guys who like to read books about magic, but nobody actually does any magic. And we are more or less in the shoes of this one guy who's basically saying, why is that? Why does nobody actually do magic anymore? We read about it in these books, but why doesn't anyone actually do any? And then he ends up coming across two guys who seem to actually be able to do it, but they are very different guys. One of them is, kind of quiet and unassuming, kind of nerdy, really into the book part and the studying and the, you have to do it just right. And he's also the one that cares the most about what other people think of him. And then you've got Mr. Jonathan Strange, who is kind of fly-by-night, like he's just doing it all by feel, and he has a real aptitude for it, but it kind of comes easy to him, and he's kind of sloppy. And so as I've only watched the first 2 episodes, and at this point they're still colleagues, kind of working together, and apparently grateful to do so, but it seems clear that there's a real conflict between them brewing. So I recommend that. So remember, new episode of Podcastle. You can find that at my website or at podcastle.org. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.